Today we are honored to have an interesting guest. I want to say she's one of the pioneers or one of the women who are building solutions in a specific part of the continent that we rarely get to talk about. Her name is Nelly. How are you doing, Nelly?
Awesome. And thank you for having me. It's been long due, so I was looking forward to that conversation to happen. Happy that we could do it today.
Yes, again, as well, Nelly, thank you as well for just taking the time to talk to us. I know you are a busy woman. Running a startup is not easy. So thank you for just taking the time to talk to us. I know we have a lot to discuss today. And maybe I'll just get straight into, the discussion. I want to start by, asking you to tell us your journey, how you got started, before we even start, tell us about the startup you're building and then how you obviously got started.
Oh, sure. So EJARA is a platform, a blockchain-based platform with the mission to really democratize access to investment and savings in a special part of Africa that is dear to my heart, which is Francophone Africa and its diaspora. The journey started, I think there were two significant moments in my life that led me to EJARA. The first one was the devaluation of the CFA franc in 1994. I was very young, and it was really like, it has so many detrimental effects on the world economy because, in Africa, we are still living under a system where most of the goods are imported. So suddenly when your currency is devalued by half, imagine the hurdles, imagine the challenges for the governments to pay the public servants and everyone. Imagine the inflation for the goods that are sold in the markets. And at the similar time, my family was really experiencing like those struggles with my dad also spending sometimes like 3 to 4 months without any pay. So I felt that, in my bones. I was asking myself questions because I was very young. I couldn't really understand, fathom what was happening. But I was asking myself like, okay, we were part of the middle class. I know my parents were like financially educated. So they were talking about like savings, like earning savings, and how come we could be in that predicament? What happened? Who is behind the currency? What is money? Who is controlling it? Who has the ownership about it? So that were the questions that were lingering in my head at that age. And then moving forward in 2015, I'm browsing through the internet and I come across a post on the social network called Quora, Quora. And it's about blockchain technology revolutionizing like payment system, remittances, and everything. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been in Europe for it was 10 years at that time. Like a little bit, 7 years. And since day one, when you are in the diaspora, you work a little bit to send money back home to your family, your cousins, or friends, because you have always someone in need back in Africa. And then when you are a student, and it's the results of your manual tasks that you will do, like being a cashier, like flipping burgers at McDonald's. So when you have to pay 15%, 20% on the $100 that you send, you really feel it, because at that time I was converting into, oh my goodness, $20 is like my food allowance for the week. So basically every time I'm sending money back home, I'm paying my food allowance for the week in fees for Western Union and MoneyGram. So when I learned that this blockchain technology could revolutionize this whole system, I started rooting for that future to happen. And that's when I made my first investment in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, in like XRP and everything. Not Ethereum at the time, but mostly like Bitcoin and XRP. The crypto fan will forgive me for the XRP mentioned as a crypto. I know it's a long debate. I've learned my lesson since then. apologizing. So then I invested, and then moving forward, I started mining, I started programming because I'm a computer science engineer by training. And, and that led to like thinking back about the challenges of the devaluation, the poor financial services that we had back home. I was like, oh, this might be the solution to solve that. And that's how EJARA was born.
Right. Thank you for that, Nelly. Yeah, that sounds like quite a journey of discovery, as well as a journey of building something that's very dear to your heart. I can I can definitely feel that. Now, I know that EJARA has been a successful startup by any standards. Actually, when you look at Francophone Africa, right? If you look at Francophone Africa, or maybe we can start for people who don't know Francophone Africa, maybe you can describe it. How many countries make up that, and maybe the population?
So if you look at the whole Francophone Africa, starting from the north to the sub-Saharan region, we're talking about approximately 18 countries, but I'm concentrating on the sub-Saharan region. So all those 14 countries sharing the same currency, the CFA franc, because the culture are almost kind of similar. Obviously, there are differences because, we are all human beings, but, West and Central Africa, we share the common food, we share like the same humor for a lot of us, and we share the same monetary system, we share approximately the same central banks, the same law. So it makes it easy when you build a startup to look at it as an aggregate. And this aggregate, like the CFA region, is like 160 million inhabitants. But if you add the Democratic Republic of Congo, that doesn't have the same currency, but still share like a lot of the culture that we have, it's another 100 million. So suddenly, looking at sub-Saharan Francophone Africa, you are looking at a market of 250 million inhabitants, which is huge by any standards. And building for those, like being in the community and building for that community makes sense and make it like much more, how do I say that? Much more simple to really build for the people, because you're not building like sitting in Europe like I was before I moved back. You are building within the community and listening to their feedbacks and iterating faster.
All right, great. Yes, you are right. So now talking about EJARA and you building it for the Francophone market, tell us how does EJARA work, and how does it enable crypto adoption for people in the Francophone region?
Yeah, so one thing that was really appealing to me when I started learning about this technology was not really, obviously, like the fact that we can do instant payment, instant remittances, no fees, and everything is really great. But the single thing that was really made it worth it was the ownership part, like having the ownership of your asset. And that's why EJARA at the base layer is a non-custodial wallet, because for me, it was really important, especially knowing that in our part of the region, a lot of people are talking about crypto, but are scammers. So they are collecting money, they are pretending to trade, to invest on behalf of the customers, and they are just scamming the money and moving away. So building a non-custodial wallet and making sure that people educate the people to learn about the difference between owning something and claiming to own something. Like you can own something that is in a non-custodial wallet, but something that is in a bank, you have a claim of ownership because the banks own it. The banks can censor you, the banks can freeze you, PayPal, Venmo, and the likes. So at the base layer, that was what I provided, a way for people in Francophone Africa and elsewhere to store a Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many more cryptos. And then people start asking me, oh, now that you tell us about it, it's great. How can we get some? Now you are enticing us to like it. I want to have some Bitcoin and only have CFA. What can I do? So I was compelled to build like the ramp, the fiat ramps. So I started plugging the on-ramp and off-ramp using mobile money that 99% of my customers use today to transact, using mobile money. So to connect Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Senegal. So as of today, we have connected 8 countries within Francophone Africa. And as we speak, it's growing. We also managed to connect the diaspora in France, in Canada, in North America. So they can basically buy, sell, store, stake their cryptos. And we plan to add more assets because it was always about saving and investment. So using blockchain as a technology for all the benefits it can provide, how can we put more, I will say chaos, no, how can you put more accessibility into even the traditional financial markets, leveraging on blockchain technology to provide us access to a large range of assets, being fractionalized shares, being fractionalized bonds, be even fractionalized real estate, and so on.
All right, great. So you mentioned you're in 8 countries. Obviously, I know you're based in Cameroon. Can you tell us how's adoption there, especially in Cameroon and maybe the other, countries within the region?
The funny part about Francophone Africa is that data always lie because you don't find any data. We are really secretive people, I believe. Because the way I study the market, and that's make the conversation with VCs very complicated because they ask you, oh, we see like this estimate of the market. Can you share some data, documentation? I'm like, oh, I could add you to all the informal WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, like Telegram groups I'm part of, and you could directly see that on a daily basis, there are millions of dollars that gets exchanged to buy and sell crypto. So the market is large, but the market is still on the ground. The market is still P2P, so prone to scam, prone to threats. You need to belong to a network. Some of those groups are very private, so you need to really like show who you are and who recommended you to penetrate it. But looking at it, you also build a lot of hopes because you feel like the people are ready. Our government, our institutions might not be ready, but the real community is ready to move forward and adopt it. So based on those interactions I've been having for the past 18 months with people on the ground, especially the young generation, I think the millennials and Gen Z, I mean, there will be the power behind like mainstream adoption of crypto, not only in Africa, but even in the world. And that's my deep belief. And I think that, and I want EJARA to be part of that story.
Well put, Nelly. I think I agree with you. It's the same when you look at across Africa. There is not enough data, but when you look at these groups, these WhatsApp groups and what's happening, that's when you actually see the bigger picture. The data might not be out here. We are trying to document as much as we can, even with this interview, but I think you put it really well that a lot of these P2P volumes being moved around are in very private spaces. Now also, Nelly, I know that building EJARA has not been easy. There are so many challenges. Maybe can you touch on some of the challenges that you faced while building EJARA, both as an entrepreneur, but also as a woman?
So, I think I tweeted a while ago about it, like being an entrepreneur, it's already tough. Being an entrepreneur in Africa is even tougher. Being an entrepreneur in Francophone Africa is another kind of hustle because we don't even have like most of the countries don't really have this entrepreneurial spirit that the Anglophone part of Africa inherited from the American dream, from the Commonwealth ecosystem. But in Francophone Africa, it's still a system where people value being public servants, abide by the rules, being in the norm. And when you come in and you like out of the box thinking like, oh, you are doing it. Yeah, what if I was doing that? And people are like, are you crazy? And when you are a woman, like crazy woman, like, oh, she put emotion. I mean, she doesn't even know what she's talking about. And I'm like, look at my pedigree, look at everything I accomplished in Europe before moving in, but people don't care. So, and on top of it, when you are in Africa, and I'm sure you can relate, you have to become an expert in building your own infrastructure, because how do you boost the productivity of your team when you have power outages? So I became an expert in like, oh, should I take diesel generators, like oil generators? Should I put solar panels? And then water, and then suddenly you fix electricity and water runs out. Oh, now do I need to drill, like to have a drilling water? Do I need to have a well? What do I need to have? And then internet goes up. Okay, how do I? So you have to cover all that on top of the technological operations. And as a woman, what you face, and I like to say that I don't fear rejection. I'm an entrepreneur. So when I started this journey, I was ready. I look at the stats, and in my heart, I knew I have 97% of chance of failing, and I was okay with it. So rejection will never be a problem for me. I know how to handle it. But rejection that comes out of kind of condescending, a kind of belittling you, a lack of respect, it's what we are usually facing as women. That is a nonsense, and I don't take it. And I would like to tell to other women founders, you don't have to take it, none from your customers, none from your investors, none from your teams, because you are facing those struggles with every part of the stakeholders. Like, you will go to a conference and give your card, and in your card, you will say like CEO and founder, but you will have like crazy people calling you like all the time, I need you to answer this question. I'm like, okay, and I ask my male founders counterpart, how often do you receive this kind of call? Oh, once in a while. But for me, it's almost all the time. So what should I do? Should I print like a visit card with like fake numbers? Because, I don't want to be harassed. So yes, so like you need really to fight for your place at the table, and it feels lonely because the way most of the ecosystem are built, like male founders stay together, they support each other, they go out for those like drinks after night. But I have two kids, I have two little kids. So after my long day at work, I need to go back to my family. I need to take care of my babies. So it's complicated for me to like stay out and drinks and blah, blah, blah. So it's, all of it makes it kind of really lonely path. Fortunately, they are wonderful people, wonderful operators. I know Elo in the First Check Africa in Nigeria, and you also have a lot of investors that are really rising up to that challenge and trying to to soften it. And I think we were talking about this upcoming summit in Nairobi, and look at the speakers, look at how many female founders do you have, and how many founders from Francophone Africa do you have? So I think that us as Africans, we cannot go to Europe.
I think you are the only Francophone Africa founder, actually. As far as
I'm not there. Why?
You're not
so
there.
And I'm not there. So I think we should really not just put theoretical words out there. We should really push as a community. We cannot, as Africans, go to Europe and the US and say Black Lives Matters, and we should put diversity, be more inclusive. And when we do organize conferences in our continent, we don't care about diversity and inclusion. This is a nonsense for me. So I would really like all conferences, all panels, to make really an intense move to have more diversity. And I know that at EJARA, for example, you will see that even our tech crew is half 50% female. Not because it's not easy to do, but I made an intent to go fetch for them. If I have personally to go to every single university, talk to all the girls that are in engineering school, I will do that, because my intent is to build that diversity team. We cannot just say, oh, I put the ad out there and women could have applied, but I received only one women application and 10 men. What do you want me to do? No, you have to do better. You have to go beyond that.
Well put, Nelly. Again, I see your passion for, empowering the women in the space. There are very few. It's actually interesting that despite years in the space, there are still so few women in the space. So it's nice to at least have a woman, who can, be a founder and be able to push for diversity. It's also interesting also, Nelly, because I saw somewhere that EJARA is also largely used by women, right? Like you have a use case of women. Maybe you can also tell us a bit about that.
So 40% of our user base are women, right? And when I look at it and when I try to understand these amazing stats, I realize one thing. For me as a woman in crypto, you will never see me talking about trading, speculating, like getting rich overnight. You will always see me talking about how to invest for the long haul. Oh, what project do you have for your kids? Oh, do you want your kids to go to Stanford? Easy. I mean, start saving some money, and maybe 5 years, 10 years, So this pitch, maybe it's more appealing to women because we care about, like, I'm saving for what? Not just investing for the thrill, for the adrenaline, for obviously there are women traders, and I respect that. But a lot of women that usually don't go to that kind of investing platform, crypto platform, it might be because the marketing speech, the communication is not appealing. And for me, it's not even a communication. I'm personifying what I'm saying because this was my approach for crypto from day one. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2015 and I never sold it. And that's it. So whenever I tell that story, it appeals to women and they're like, oh, Nelly is saying that. That's what she did. She worked the thought, So maybe me as a women founder or EJARA as a vector to communicate in a way that is more enticing for them is the explanation for this for this percentage of women. And what is crazy is that I remember when we started raising a fund, I think it was a little bit 7 months ago, we were at 3,000 to 4,000 users and we had 40% of women. 7 months later, we are beyond 20,000 users and I still have 35% of women. Whereas we have expanded crazily and we still maintain and without having a clear intent there. So I haven't even deployed my intent on going to women. So wait for that to happen. I believe we're gonna end up with 80% of women, brother.
I can't wait for that. I think you will have changed the crypto space in Africa, Nelly. If even hitting that 35% already, I think your app is, I would say, the most popular among women now on the continent, because you and I know that women in the space are very few women. Yeah, I was talking to another woman a few weeks ago and she was like, this thing is too complicated. It's for men, So, I mean, it's nice to see that EJARA is actually changing that. Would you maybe mind telling us maybe some features of EJARA and the features that are popular? Which features have you seen? Yeah.
So I already mentioned the non-custodial wallet, obviously. So some people are just buying crypto on a P2P market and storing it using their EJARA wallet. So this is the first use case we are seeing. The second one is merely being able to invest into crypto with their funds. So you have two kinds of people, those that like to trade, so they just buy and they send it to Binance on the likes to buy Doji, Shiba Inu, Baby Doge, and all those fantastic shit coins. And you have what I call the savers, and you find a lot of women there. They come like very often, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe when they receive their wage or when if they are gig worker, when they are saved a little bit, and they invest and they just hold for the long haul. You also have another use case that we really discovered while building and scaling EJARA, those merchants that want to buy goods from Dubai, from Turkey or elsewhere, and that have difficulty to access hard currencies. But they have their suppliers that now can accept stable coins or Bitcoin or the likes. So they come for EJARA to buy those and to pay for the goods. Another feature we integrated recently, our first saving feature, the staking. So staking TZOs to earn 5.5% on a yearly basis. So people are also using that feature a lot. And the upcoming feature is what I'm so excited about is we have a nascent financial market in Central Africa. So we are currently leveraging blockchain technology to tokenize some of the traditional financial assets so that it could spread among more people and we could dream of having millions of users in no time.
Maybe just taking you a bit back with the users, how many, I remember when you were raising, you had about 8,000 users back then.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing with us how many users you now have?
So as of today, 21,000 and plus the one we acquired between 11 p.m. yesterday and this morning when I haven't looked yet at my data. So because I'm counting them one by one still, you know.
All right. Especially women, right?
Especially my church sisters. Do you want me to start citing their names?
I know there are too many, so maybe also, do you mind talking to us about your raise? I think it was also quite remarkable to have an app in Francophone Africa, a product in the crypto space raising. You recently raised $2 million. You know, tell us, how did that come about? You know, and what are you planning to use now the raise for moving forward?
Yeah, so the raise happened last September. So I announced it last September. I think it was I raised at the right time when I had the right momentum, when I had proved myself, because what few people know is that I had attempted to raise, I think it was 6 months prior, and it didn't go well. I felt like after like 6 weeks that I didn't feel good about the interaction I was having with investors. As a reminder, I know how to face rejection, but rejection due to lack of respect, I also know like, this time I had some rejection, not due to lack of respect, but I was feeling like maybe I didn't have like the traction enough. Maybe I needed to build that network that I didn't have, because before building EJARA, I have never been interested into like the VC, the investment, the investors, angel investment, all those Series A, seed. I didn't even know if it was in Chinese or in English or somewhere. So I think that failed experience, I leveraged on that to build like the successful experience, because all those investors I talked to, those I identify as being kind of more on the rejection part, but respectfully rejection. I started updating them on what we were doing. And I continue building. And monthly, after 6 weeks, when I was receiving consistent no-nos, I decided to stop the race, to concentrate on operations, feeling that, okay, let me think about a way to build EJARA even without an investor. How can I bootstrap this company so that my customers become my investors? And then I decided, okay, I need to stop raising and concentrate on those customers and building the product they will love and they will use recurrently. And that's where I continue doing the update. And after 6 months, actually, some of the investors I have talked to 6 months prior reach out and say, oh, we like what we are seeing. So basically 6 months ago, you told us you will hit X and Y milestones, and we are seeing you are consistently hitting those milestones. So are you raising now? And I think it was at the same time that my podcast with Jason Works came out, and he titled it, she's building Coinbase for Africa. And then the interest only grew from the US investors, and building upon that, I was able really to raise in less than 2 months. I was very lucky to raise from strategic partners that I really love. So I know few founders can say this. So my raise wasn't only about money, it was also about people that align with my values, people that could provide real solutions to the challenges I was facing. And as a founder, I knew exactly which blockers I had that could impeded my growth, my scale, and I was lucky to find a set of investors that really shared those values and could really accompany EJARA to the next phase of growth.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks for those tips. I think you've shared quite a good number of tips there for people. And, as we close, maybe my last question would be, you've offered quite a number of points there, but what other specific advice would you give?
For my younger self, I would say, don't change. I mean, stay as naive as you are now, because the right people will find your way. And I think I will also tell her that maybe be less concentrated on your GPA during school, and more on building like the network, on partying, because those time will never come back. So yeah, I think it will mostly about it. I feel like I was lucky enough to really know myself very early on, to know what I stand for, to know what were my ethics. And every single decision I've taken since I was 15 has only been driven by my values, by my ethics. And I never had any fear of being on the outside, of being out of the norm, of thinking out of the box. So I might be thanking my parents. I might be thanking my luck, to have been raised that way, or to have been born that way. But if you are not born, or if you're not raised that way, aspire to really do that, because in so many ways, I feel like I'm a unicorn. In so many ways, I don't need the $1 billion valuation. I'm already a unicorn. So aspire to be your own unicorn.
Wow, what a nice way to close this interview, Nelly. Thank you. Aspire to be your own unicorn. I think for me personally, that's my takeaway. Yeah, thank you so much, Nelly. It was a pleasure talking to you, obviously, but it's also nice to get a lot of gems of knowledge, from a builder, from an African woman as well. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Nelly.